I have a great enough command on diatonic scales, do I even really need pentatonic scales?
So first of all, what does this person mean by diatonic scales? Diatonic is just referring to the major and minor scales. Do you need pentatonic scales? Well, that depends on, do you want to play with the pentatonic sound? You don't need it. If you never want to sound bluesy or you never want to have some cool pentatonic sounding runs, of course you don't. But I would say the pentatonic scale is the most used scale, probably in Western music, period. So I would imagine you would at least want the ability to play it, yes.
I've been noticing looking on YouTube there are a lot of different scale patterns depending on the genre. I like a lot of different genres. I also noticed that depending on the person, the scale patterns can be different in the same genre. Any suggestion or advice?
Yes, so I love this question, and this is such a huge insight for all of you guys to get. I really want you to pay close attention to this. So in different genres, certain scales are used more often than others. For instance, in blues, the pentatonic scale is used a lot, or probably the most. Maybe in classical music, most of the time the major and minor scale is used probably the most of the time. In maybe metal or like neoclassical music or advanced like progressive rock or something like that, they might use scales like harmonic minor or something like that. Now, remind me of the question again, Brock, because I want to, it's basically saying different people use different patterns in different genres.
Yes.
Okay, so why are different people use different patterns, even if it's the same scale? So let's say you go to YouTube, you find a pentatonic scale, and somebody is saying, hey, learn the pentatonic scale, here's a pattern. Or somebody else might be saying, hey, learn the pentatonic scale, here's a different pattern. How do you know, why are there different patterns, and how do you know which one to do? This is a super important concept to get. A scale is not a pattern. A scale is not a pattern. So when somebody says, hey, play the minor pentatonic scale, and they play something like this, I don't know if you can hear this or not, but you can probably see what I'm doing. This pattern is not necessarily the minor pentatonic scale. The pattern itself is not the scale. The scale is the notes in the pattern. There are a million different patterns you can play on the fretboard to play the same scale notes, meaning you're playing the same scale with a million different patterns, so many different patterns. So it's not so much about the patterns. The patterns are literally just a vehicle. The patterns are literally just a way for you to understand how to play that scale, aka to play the notes in the scale across the fretboard. That's the only point of the patterns. After you learn patterns and you learn how to connect it all together, then after that, you don't need to focus on patterns anymore. The idea is not to play patterns. It's to play the notes in the scale, aka the right notes in the particular scale. So as we talk about in Guitar Grid Mastery, once we walk you step by step through building block steps to build you up to this ultimate pattern, we call it the big repeating pattern, or we call it the freedom key pattern. You can literally play every single right note anywhere on the guitar neck in any major or any minor key or even any pentatonic scale by using one pattern, one 7-string pattern. Now, yes, the guitar has 6 strings and the 7th string would overlap, but it's literally just one key. That's why we call it the freedom key, because it's like the key that unlocks the fretboard. You just use one pattern and you can literally play anywhere and hit all the right notes. So again, I just want to reiterate that a scale or a pattern is not a scale. The pattern itself, the pattern doesn't matter what form the pattern takes. The point is that you're trying to play the right notes in that scale.
How does major scale pattern 1 relate to other scales other than it just being a series of notes?
That's exactly it. It is a series of notes. And that same series of 7 notes is what repeats all across the fretboard. Just like I just talked about, a pattern is not a scale. So by using the patterns allow us to play the right notes in the scale. There are 7 notes, there are 7 right notes in the major scale. There's only 7 of them. Those 7 repeat over and over and over and over and over again on the fretboard. Let's say there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We also have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, over and over and over and over and over again. That's all there is on the fretboard, those same 7 notes. The patterns themselves just allow us to hit those right 7 notes. That's it. So how does the pattern, major scale pattern 1 relate to the other patterns? Well, it relates because it's the same scale. All of those different patterns connect together just to allow you mentally to play across the neck, but all you're doing is playing those same 7 notes over and over and over and over again, just in different octaves.